In the manufacturing space, operational efficiency and data security aren't just goals, they're necessities. So, recognizing when your IT infrastructure is holding you back is crucial. That's why today we're going to cover the 5 signs your manufacturing IT needs an overhaul. This is going to pinpoint exactly where your current system may be costing you time, money, and opportunities for growth. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Brady. I'm the owner of IT Scaling Systems and an IT provider that helps manufacturing businesses leverage IT for smoother operations and scalability. Let's dig into it. So starting us off today, we've got the big bad D word, downtime. Uh, we're going to start off with the clearest sign that your IT probably needs some help. In a perfect world, your plant can run 24/7, 365 without a hiccup or a shred of waste. But in reality, we all know it doesn't really work that way. However, your downtime should be planned pretty well in advance. If you're experiencing unexpected halts during production hours, this is a pretty big red flag. That said, there are other less apparent downtimes that can still be heavily impacting your business. Computers working at speeds much slower than they should across the plant, in some cases, can be even worse than a standard downtime. The slow speeds don't really raise a flag, and because of that, it doesn't go addressed for months or sometimes ever. But if you reduced your production speed by 30%, how much would that impact your revenue, right? And oftentimes, slow IT is even slower than 30%, right? Um, and so that's what slow computers are doing. They're essentially slowing down your production speed. On top of that, if your staff is constantly bogged down with IT issues, you're now paying wages for them to sit on their hands and just wait. So, downtime from an IT perspective is a big one. So, here's some solutions you can take with you to start getting things on the right track. Depending on the severity you're experiencing, you're going to want to pick one or more of these solutions. In the short term, you can do your best to set up more monitoring so that you can address any issues as they arrive. This is a reactive model, but if the fire is already burning, you get a bucket of water, not think about how to stop it from starting, right? And so a medium term solution will be taking a look at what's critical and getting those systems replaced. Where the solution falls short across the long term is that the bar is always moving. And so you want to stay up to date, or so what you update today is actually out of date tomorrow. This helps the next fire, but you still really aren't fireproof. And in the long term, I highly suggest you think about getting an expert in place to move solutions to the cloud and have proper downtime scheduled for maintenance and repairs so that there's an ongoing update of systems across the plant that keep the place running smoothly. That said, that short-term solution in place is actually still a very valuable step. Getting live data and monitoring around your systems is always a good safeguard because things go wrong. Machines break, softwares update, things get pushed. That kind of stuff happens. So having something in place to kind of send off the bat signal should always be a part of your operational strategy. Now, getting into the second sign, your cost of maintenance continues to creep outside of your budget. For some reason, you kind of just keep spending more and more on repairs that were never really in the plans in the first place. Emergency repairs suck. They're costly, and most often they come along with sign number one, which is downtime. And so you may be experiencing the need to set up emergency patches just to keep your old systems alive. And so the solutions to this sign are going to feel pretty similar to downtime. We've organized them into short, medium, and long-term solutions that once again, depending on severity and budget available, you may need to do a blended approach. But in the short term, you'll want to get a quote of what it would cost to do an overhaul and what's causing the issues, and then compare it against what it costs to just have them running as it is. This works in the short term just because it's a numbers game, but on the long time horizon, that one upfront cost of an overhaul is significantly less than the cost that comes with trying to continue to maintain really old systems. It racks up, and even though it's a smaller charge on the month, it's a longer charge over the next 10 years because it's just going to be monthly. In the medium term, find those crucial machines and the ones with the most problems and do your best to phase them out as quickly as possible, right? So get a replacement in. This is a pretty common approach, so it's just pretty much update as you go. And this tends to work fine as long as you continue to budget for the ongoing project. But the long-term solution is going to be investing in a IT company or partner that will modernize your current infrastructure with the long-term vision that you have, and that's going to be setting up recurring patching dates and lifecycle management on machines, and implementing cloud solutions where you can within the business. So getting into sign number 3, we now have a whole different side of the coin and probably one of the most underappreciated but costly issues to run into. And this is going to be vulnerability. For manufacturing, your data is your business. And you would never really walk into a grocery store with a folder just full of your company's private information and then just go leave it in the fresh produce aisle, right? And then just walk away. You would never do that. However, that's pretty much what's going on when you don't have a cybersecurity system in place. And cyber's twofold, right? So hackers can go after your computers, but they can also go after your people. And a vulnerability in either of those areas can cost you some buco bucks, right? The average cyber ransom in the US is a little over $500,000. And that was a number last taken in 2021. And so cyber's only gotten more expensive since then. And that's not really pocket change. So with that said, anyway, here is your signs that it's time to put a magnifying glass on your security. The first is that you're already experiencing cybersecurity breaches or malware attacks or excessive phishing attempts on your employees. If this is happening, you need to get on this probably ASAP, because it's only a matter of time until something breaches through, and then you're dealing with some big issues there. But secondly, and this is a completely valid reason, is that you just don't have confidence in your current system. It's really important to be able to sleep at night. And if you go to bed every night worrying that tomorrow you could wake up and your entire system is taken over and you can't access anything, that's probably reason enough to go have a professional take a look at it, do some penetration testing, vulnerability scans, and see if you are vulnerable. But lastly, is just that you're going to be out of compliance. And so if your systems are old or you're not within security compliance, you have lots of security patches that need to be upgraded, that is another sign that it is definitely time to put an overhaul in place. And so this all sounds pretty scary, but here's pretty much what you can do about it. So first thing to do, and quite frankly, you should pretty much always be doing this. If this isn't in place, this is a huge place that you can add some security and structure to your plant. And that's just going to be getting some training in place for employees so that they can recognize and avoid common threats. You'd be surprised how many people fall for phishing attempts. And if you are unaware, a phishing attempt is essentially somebody sending an email to one of your employees and making it look like they are something that they aren't, right? So they'll make it look like it's an email from someone within the company. They'll put a link in that email, and then your employee clicks the link in that email, and now the person that sent that has all of that employee's information, which means now they can get into your systems. Or they download something that ends up being malware and then wreaks havoc across your IT infrastructure. So that's just some quick examples. But and then from there, your medium and long-term solutions really should go hand in hand. You really want a good security team setting up your security infrastructure, and that way it can continue to be managed over time as the space continues to develop, because it is developing at a very rapid rate, especially over the last decade. So getting into the fourth sign, this one is less impact short-term, but pretty high impact long-term. And that's just the inability to scale or innovate. If your current infrastructure can't support new software and technology integrations, for example, a big thing in the manufacturing space currently is IoT devices, or they're called Internet of Things. You may have heard it addressed as IIoT, specifically in manufacturing, which is Industry Internet of Things. But In this case, for you, it would be sensors on your machines that gather loads of data that can then be analyzed in real time. And so this is actually what we specialize in here at ITSS. And to not have the infrastructure in place to accept that data severely limits a business's ability to increase their operational efficiency and stop downtime from occurring, as we talked about earlier. So this is one of those methods of setting up alerting to stop things before catastrophe actually happens. But you may also just be in the boat where you see your competitors are advancing in ways that you can't. Just because you don't have the infrastructure in place. And it's a pretty sure sign that it's time for an overhaul. So to get started on solutions, in the short term, you can identify the key areas again and just work on getting those updated, right? So find what are the most critical systems to start getting, data around or scalability around, and put the money towards that. But I think by this point, you can pretty much see the downside to only doing short-term fixes. And instead, we'll focus on the medium and long-term in conjunction with that. And these solutions will be implementing adaptable systems. For medium term, it'll most likely mean that you'll be doing this by yourself, which means that it opens up the door to choosing either the wrong solutions for your long-term goals or implementing them in a subpar fashion so that you aren't actually getting out of them what they're capable of giving you. And so this is where the long-term solution is utilizing an IT company that has experience with this and can become a partner in your long-term strategy to set up the best infrastructure for your goals. And now to round it out, we get to our fifth and final sign. And this is something that we actually touched on earlier in a different sign, but it really deserves to be its own standalone sign for sure. If you have systems that won't integrate with new software, you are shooting yourself in the foot. This happens way too often, where by not getting systems updated and the machine is forced to operate on old software, which can cause all of the other four signs that we've talked about so far today. Also, you'll end up creating a silo where you just have no option but to keep the old machine with the old softwares and find a way to just limp it along. This causes a headache for everyone because as systems get older, they get less and less support from vendors, which means eventually you'll be all on your own to service it. And that's not a good place to be in, especially when chaos ensues, which is ultimately what happens if you let things get way out of date. So in short, in my experience, what businesses end up doing, and this kind of always bites them in the butt, is they find some middle solution that helps them integrate the old software with the new. And again, on the long time horizon, this stops working. Those middlewares don't work for very long. They either don't get the supports and updates, or the people that created the middleware solution they're the ones updating, and so they no longer want to support very, very old systems. And so you end up in the same place. It's a short-term solution. In the medium term, you can migrate all of the data to a more standardized format, and this will help you when it actually comes time to migrate to something new. You'll be able to sort of plug that old data in and get most of it transferred. But in the long term, though, which is really the solution you want to be looking at if this is the sign you're dealing with, you'll just want to rebuild your infrastructure and have it be done with integration and compatibility as your core principles, because that's what's going to allow your business to grow and scale over time, which is the goal, right? And so as a recap, the 5 signs were downtime, maintenance cost, security, scalability, and integration. With a good IT provider, they really should be focused on setting up your infrastructure for long-term success, which means looking at all 5 of these areas. But now that we've come this far, what do you do next? The first thing to do is to just get clear. Take a full inventory of your IT landscape and see where you have gaps. In the description below, I've created a downloadable workbook. It has 25 questions. In that, you can just go through, fill out, and it'll help get you a nice clear vision on your current IT landscape. You just print it out, work through it, fill it out. It will help you recognize kind of where you have gaps in your system. Once you're clear, you're likely going to want to end up taking a blended approach to utilizing short, medium, and long-term solutions, depending on how severe your gaps are, what budget you have, and the timeline that you have to solve them. And then from there, probably the best thing that you can do for your business is to go find an expert to go through all of this with you. They're going to be the ones that will provide you solutions and have a roadmap for you so that you can properly take your business from where it is now to where you want it to be in the long term. So if you've made it this far in the video, I appreciate you and I hope you found value in this. The whole purpose of this channel is to help manufacturing businesses reshape their IT infrastructure so that IT is no longer just a line item on the budget list, but it's actually a multiplier and an asset on your revenue. To see more of this content, hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to let others know that this video was helpful and you liked it, hit that like button. And if you would like to reach me, here are a couple of my contact informations. So my website is itscalingsystems.com, or you can shoot me an email at brady@itscalingsystems.com. But that's all that I have for you today, and I'll see you in the next video.